And Fabio Wardley knocks out Justis Huni in a good moment for him. I mean, he was losing almost every round on the three judges' scorecards at the time, and this fight to me was resembling a little bit of the fight last week between Armando Resendez and Caleb Plant, with Wardley being Plant in that he's the more supposed to be athletic and creative and dynamic fighter of the two fighters, but Justis Huni, kind of like Resendez, keeping a high guard, staying on top of him, and staying the more consistent fighter, controlling the center of the ring with his high guard and his aggression. He piled up the rounds, but then finally that superior talent and creativity of Fabio Wardley, who is a pretty fluid heavyweight in today's division. He can do maneuvers with his upper body, and he finishes this off with a not a pull, something kind of like a pull right hand counter. So nice nifty move to knock out Justis Huni in the 10th. Big come from behind knockout, got everybody's attention. What did you think of the fight, Fabio Wardley coming from behind, and what'd you think of that?
Fabio Wardley was getting his ass kicked every round. I mean, he was getting outclassed. He was getting outboxed. He was getting a boxing lesson. It was a clinic. And as much as I like Wardley as a guy, as much as his backstory, which is not much boxing at all, little to no amateur boxing, if I'm correct, maybe a white collar fighter, it is a phenomenal story that he's even gotten this far. And it is a testament to his grit, his belief, his determination, clearly some God-gifted talent that wasn't honed as a young man or as an amateur. White collar fights, I don't think really prepare you for the pro ranks, but it did him. That is also a phenomenal trait and something that makes the story a wow factor if the career were to end right now. He's already like, wow, how did this guy get this far? With all that said, this fight reminded me more of Ortiz Wilder. And I say that knowing that at the time Wilder was heavyweight champion and Wilder had an insane knockout ratio. And I'm not suggesting that at where Wilder was at that time is where Wardley is now, but I'm saying what I saw in the ring is that dynamic. It was a guy who really can box. And Huni, I was impressed with his punch selection. I was impressed with his fluid. Talk about a fluid fighter. He was fluid. He was fucking checking all the boxes and hitting all the numbers, and he was putting on a clinic. What Frank Warren bet on, and earlier in the week, Eddie Hearn was giving Frank a lot of stick, as they say, giving him a lot of shit about having selected Huni because they did call Huni out. It was like it was up to Wardley who was going to fight. He chose that fight, and Eddie Hearn couldn't have been happier. He's like, I can't believe Frank made this kind of mistake. And ironically, they're both right. Like, it was a mistake on the one hand. On paper, that's a terrible matchup for Wardley because he's so outclassed and because Huni does hit hard. That's not a feather-fisted fighter. The guy hits hard. And I saw even punches to the chest towards the eighth and ninth round starting to have an effect on Wardley. Huni had a great showing. But what Frank Warren was fucking betting on is the chin of Huni would not hold up. And Frank knows boxing. He knows heavyweights. He matches no better than anyone else, I'd say, in modern history. Better than Don King. Better than top ranks Bob Arum. Heavyweight boxing right now is owned by Frank Warren, and for good reason, because he knows how to bring a fighter through. And that was a questionable decision. It seemed like Hearn was going to get his chance to shine and gloat in about 6 more minutes. The heavyweight knockout power that Wardley possesses was the only difference in the fight. In every other category, he was losing badly on my card. And it doesn't take away from him as a fighter that's what he's banking on. But just like Ortiz and Wilder, I worry that when you see a guy get outboxed like that, when you see a guy get beaten that convincingly up until the knockout punch, it does take a bit of the air away of invincibility. Savvy fighters with better chins than Huni are gonna try that tactic. Like, and after the Wilder fight, I famously cornered him on the way out of the press conference and asked him, "Now, do you believe that skills pay the bills?" And he said, "No." Like he didn't learn at all a lesson from that fight. And for me, that was actually the turning point in his career where he was either going to have to learn how to box real late in the game, or that knockout power was going to fail him once and then forever after that. This is what I'm worried about with Wardley. I worry that this brute is not going to hold up. I mean, the guy is a brute. I didn't see quite the fluid fighter that you saw, or the great
Yeah, I
shots.
mean, he was getting hit. Even that he would, he's one of the guys that drops his lead hand and feels like he could do things guys in the smaller weight classes can do. But he was getting hit a lot doing it,
He
and
was doing things
yeah,
that you shouldn't do. He
yeah,
was and getting away with it, which
right,
I understand can look slick, can look cool as long as you're winning the fight. But when you're losing the fight, it just looks like a guy who's doing a bunch of shit he shouldn't be doing.
yeah.
And then when he knocks him out in such fucking highlight fashion, you kind of forget about all that. And it seems like, oh, everybody jumps out of their chair and we forget that, yo, you just got beat for 9.5 convincing rounds. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe, that's not fair. I'd say the first and second. First round, I think, went to Wardley. Second round could have even gone to Wardley. He did start out as brutes do, with power shot, power shot, power shot, and Huni was absorbing it. Huni really wasn't taking the shots on the chin so much as being an excellent boxer and absorbing the shots. He was getting hit for sure. He was losing those 2 rounds, I'd say, but he was also downloading the information and calculating how he was going to win the next round and figuring out what Wardley does. And Wardley never made an adjustment after that, really. So that's why I'd say from 3 on, it was a clinic, because as any solid boxer will do, he figured out what Wardley was about and continued to beat him at that round after round as Wardley had no adjustments. I would also say, Wardley should be very happy that Frank Warren is his promoter, not only because Frank knows how to bring a guy through, but whatever Frank Warren said to him between rounds before the knockout, I think was the magic pill. I'd like to hear what was said, because I gotta tell you, this is what I want to hear you out on. I mean, I want to hear you out on everything, but this in particular right now. What is your take on Ben Davidson?
Ooh, oh, hmm. That's a good one. I am more a Ben Davison guy than I'm not. I think he was looking like hot off the Fury momentum a couple years, and Josh Taylor becoming undisputed, and he was working with American fighters like Devin Haney for a little bit there. And then that MTK stuff happened, and he hasn't been able. It looks like he hasn't really been able to be in the United States since. But I was thinking, this guy is like a prodigy trainer. Like he's the youngest big name trainer in the game, and he's obviously a boxing nerd, like, and he could be one of the great ones, is what my initial impression of him was, right? And now he gets a lot of flack over I guess his momentum isn't the best. I'm not keeping up with every win and loss in his column. But what might be having him slip up is we've been talking about this era of fighters sometimes having that hubris, and they get that success at a young age, and they flash that talent at a young age, and they accomplish things at a young age, and that they feel themselves a little bit, and sometimes that slows their growth. That actually slows their momentum. Maybe Ben's gone through that a little bit, being a young guy, getting the success at an age that trainers very rarely, in my memory, ever get success. This is an old man's job. This is a grizzled, an older grizzled man's type of job. And here's Ben coming along 5 years ago with his long hair and locks and training the heavyweight champion of the world. Um, I'm more a Ben Davison guy than I'm not, but I understand that a lot of people over there are really down on his stock the last couple of years.
He's a confidence man, and that can be taken the wrong way.
Do
And
you
that
want to cut out the fittings and just is that what are you putting the and just call
he's
him a con man, or are you saying he's a confidence
confidence man, and
man?
I knew you were going to take it that way. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't mean a con man is that he is selling goods that are not what he proclaims them to be.
yeah.
I mean, confidence man, in that what we saw with him and Fury was impressive, and he brought Fury back from the brink of mental breakdown, from obscurity almost, in the sense that we didn't know at that point when Fury, before he had returned, whether he would or what he would be like, and could he carry through and stay mentally strong and all of that stuff. And Ben Davidson was a part of that narrative, and he clearly, as Tyson Fury has constantly credited him with, was the bedrock that he needed to get back in the game and get back on his best form. But as soon as he was back at the top, he cut Ben loose. And I was over here for that. And we were all like, well, that seems like a fucking dumb move. Like, what's up with that? Why would you do that? And it wasn't that he completely cut him loose, because we got to be fair. He made him an offer, I believe, that he could train along, be a second trainer um, to my guy.
I'll make you an offer you can't accept. As opposed to an offer you can't refuse. Yeah, no.
Yeah. So he was going to make him a part of a training team, I believe, that he was not going to be the head of,
Yeah.
right? And he couldn't accept that. I respect it. Hey, I'm not a second guy. I don't need a fucking assistant situation. I'm the head guy, or no deal. Good luck to you. And he never got down on Fury. He didn't start revealing those, deep secrets. He didn't talk shit. So I respect his thank you, but no thank you. Since then, though, I've always wondered if something would reveal itself as to whether or not Fury's decision made sense, or whether or not it was a mistake. At some point, as Ben gets more opportunities, should Fury have kept him around? Would it have, maybe been the difference between a Usyk fight sometime down the line, whatever? And what I'm seeing really is that, not unlike Hunter, who who I have a storied history with, I feel like he's good at making a guy believe in himself. He's good at taking a guy who may not have everything in the tool chest, think he can go out there and build the house. He believes enough in his fighter that the fighters start believing in themselves when they're down in those moments. And you need a guy like that. But that doesn't necessarily make him a technically proficient trainer. And yes, because he's a young guy, he's got the flowing hair and all the fucking shit, I think promoters like him. You know what I mean? Like, fight, like, I think he's got some kind of cachet that's appealing to people. But when you get down to brass tacks, is he a strategy coach? Is he a guy when you need to make that adjustment in the corner on the fly that gives you the right advice? Is he seeing the fight correctly in a way that can shape the fighter during the fight to make changes, adjustments, to give him that thing he needs to do? Not that he needs to feel, but the thing he needs to do to change the fight.
Well, I know him and Lee Wiley, they definitely are heavy on devising a game plan from their film study. So I know he comes in with these guys with a game plan.
But is that the right game plan? Is he the guy to do that? Because you say Josh Taylor became undisputed, but did he?
He was built under
Okay.
refresh my memory. McGuigan, was it? Built him?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I don't think Josh Taylor won that fight. I think that Jack Catterall got robbed.
Oh yeah, yeah, but I'm talking about when he beat Ramirez to unify all four titles.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
believe McGuigan is who built him from scratch. And then Davison came in like right before he became undisputed, and they won undisputed together. But yeah,
This is my thing.
yeah.
Josh was in trouble against Dubois. I mean, we heard the corner word.
Joshua, roll the dice. Right, right, roll the dice.
I couldn't hear what was being said in the corner with Wardley, but there were no adjustments being made that was changing that fight. It was a matter of belief on simply the punching power. And I think it was Frank Warren that gave him the magic pill because I saw a somewhat dejected fighter. I was worried that Wardley was just gonna about to resign himself to his fate. And to his credit,
Well,
he
Huni was
actually,
breaking him down to the body too. I mean, he was
yeah.
hitting him with left hooks to the body, and it looked like got to give credit to Wardley that he even had the steam left in the 10th round to land that kind of shot with that kind of impact because he wasn't just getting outboxed and he was getting beat up and still and to the body. So yes,
Yeah. And, without that single shot knockout, he was on his way to losing that fight for sure. Now, I'm hearing a bunch of rumbling about the count. Did you have any issue with the count? Like,
I mean, I
should,
briefed. No, not really. I mean, Huni didn't protest it at all. So if he's good, I'm good. But
but yeah, but I mean,
yeah, I know, I know. Some fighters
some
have
guys are
that
like
level
that.
of honor that even if they get screwed, they're not going to sit talk about it. I gotta watch it again. He didn't. He certainly didn't get the Tyson Fury count in the Wilder fights. But yeah, I'd have to watch it again.
And then when Frank got in the ring, he said, "Eat your heart out, Deontay Wilder." Right? So he's seeing that. That's a tell. Bro, that's a tell. I don't think you should have said that because that's a tell. He's seeing this fighter, Wardley, as a Wilder. And I'm telling you that one trick pony shit, as soon as they see somebody have success, now you're going to have to defend that flank. And that flank is your lack of actual boxing acumen, your skill set, your experience as an amateur that doesn't exist. That is your exposed flank. And it's very difficult to cover that flank because you can't go back and become an amateur fighter. You can't go back and start
Right.
building up your experience and start because the truth of it is when I asked Wilder that, and I constantly said on shows when I was asked, I would say he needs a boxing lesson. Wilder does. He needs to learn how to box, and I thought, his trainer Malik Scott was a perfect guy for that because he's a meticulous boxing coach. Now, if he takes a guy who wants to learn how to box and can, build him up and walk him through a career from scratch, that's fantastic. But the truth is that trying to teach Wilder how to box was a terrible idea. That's what I thought should happen, and I was dead wrong. Like all he could really do was continue to rely on that power
I think
shot.
I think trying to rewrite the whole book was a bad idea. I think trying to make a couple adjustments and show him a few things, like I think that's part of why he actually fought so well in the third Fury fight at first, because Malik's like, I want you to jab the body in this fight. And after that fight, that's when he like went Frankenstein and like, okay, now I want to rewrite the whole book on your style and teach you a million different things. But I feel like they had their best performance together in the third Fury fight because he didn't have all that time to try to teach him everything. It was like, okay, we have one camp for this next fight we have together. I need you to work your levels with your jab to get the right hand off more. And that alone took him from getting blown out in fight two to being competitive in fight three. But yeah, go ahead.
That's a brilliant take.
Right.
That's a brilliant take. And I would only add to that the reason it's possible is because it was the third fucking fight in a row. You know what I mean? Or at least the third time he's facing the same guy. So that is what experience is. That is how you train a boxer. That is how amateurs can be hone their skill. Now I realize in the amateur boxing, you face a ton of different people, different, multiple people on the same day or whatever. But as you in the gym can work on certain things and certain styles, and you can continue to spar with the same kind of guy, and you can see all these different looks and work out how to face different looks, and you have multiple chances to see those looks and try again to get it right. That's what amateurs, that's what it is. And learning how to box, it certainly helps if you're learning how to fight a particular style, a particular look, and you get two or three shots at it, then you can like get it right. But in this professional game, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get a trilogy usually three times to get it right. And even when he got it right, he still got it wrong. You
Right.
know what I mean? There, but to your point, yes, you would be better off figuring out the things that you can tweak and giving him some skill that complements what he does
Does
naturally,
already. Yeah.
and hopefully that carries you over. I don't know that Ben Davidson is the guy to do that for Wardley. I don't think Ben Davidson is the guy to do that for Wardley. And that now my own confidence is shaken in what I believe is right, because I think you were right in what you just said, and I was dead wrong in what I was thinking Wilder needed. So I don't know what Wardley needs now, if he's gonna ascend to heavyweight champion one day or really fight at the top elite level, because I think all of those guys that are up up there, maybe even a Moses Atamu has enough skill to expose him. And
I think
you
so. I
know what I
think
mean?
I would love that fight. Frank, to your point, he controls the division. I highly doubt he would make Wardley versus Itama, but I feel like that's a really good fight. People want Itama in some kind of step up fight, and we want to see, can Wardley, step up past the domestic level, he beat in the Commonwealth level. And Wardley's number one with the WBA, and Itama's number one with the WBO. But Frank, he's gonna do what promoters do. He's gonna position each guy to get a belt, build it up, and then maybe make it, when it's time to make a lot of money and have belts on the line. But
I,
yeah,
I think we're seeing a turning point in Wardley's career, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a bad turning point, but we're about to see guys fight him different. Now that they've seen what Huni did, they're going to fight him different, and we're going to find out if he has something other than that big, massive punch, or just how far that big punch can take him. Maybe it takes him all the way. It got Wilder the WBC championship, and for a
like
while
10
was
title
considered
defenses. Yeah,
boxing. So he took a right hand further than anybody in boxing I've ever known to take it.
Wardley, that was a nice right hand. It ain't Deontay Wilder's right hand.
Yeah, fair, fair, fair. And
Yeah,
you're
and I
right.
think I've been meaning to say this for like 10 minutes since you broke it down. I think to sum up what I'm hearing from what you saw in Wardley over the weekend is that in getting this knockout, the foreshadowing of his fall was shown in this fight, like Wilder against Ortiz. It's like, okay, you got the job done, epic come from behind knockout, all that great, good on you. But if you continue to carry this level of performance into the ring, it's a matter of time, any minute now, that you're going to get found and beaten. So do with
Yeah.
that what you will.
Just as a programming note, we will see Moses Atamu against Dillian White on
Yes.
August 16th in Saudi. So you see Frank making moves. I think that's the right choice. I
Yeah.
think that right choice for both guys,
A lot
really.
of people not liking that fight. They feel, Itama's got to blow out Dillian, is going to blow out Dillian White, but okay, but you got to do that for, Cooney had to knock out Norton before he fought
Right.
Holmes. Like okay, do
I think it's a good fight. I think that's
yeah,
the right fight for both guys. I
yeah,
like that fight. You know what I mean?
yeah. If White can get out of the first couple rounds, who knows? I don't know if he'll be able to. I got Itama all day in that fight. But it makes sense from a matchmaking point. Let's see you win against one of the real names of the last 10 years. Yeah, he's on the downside, but this is what historically has always been matchmaking for young fighters. Beat the guys that got names on their downside and do it in spectacular fashion if you're the next guy of the division. So,
Or Dillian White, do you still got it? Are you the guy that's going to stop the meteoric rise of this young fighter? You have way more experience. You've been at a higher level. You should be able to gatekeep at the very minimum if
right.
you're still going to be in the conversation of the big time heavyweight. So that's why I say it's a good fight for both guys. To be fair, the way we talk about both guys and the way both guys see themselves in the division, they should both win. They both have something to prove in that fight that they are who they say they are. That's the kind of narrative I like. And how the fight goes, it could be one-sided, it could be a classic. I don't know, but the narrative writes itself. That's a beautiful matchup.